All right, Clemens, Kuhlig, Chef Pitts, thanks for joining us on Air Sports News.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
So, where are you right now, Chef?
I am in Stuart, Florida, which is just north of West Palm Beach and south of Vero Beach. It's kind of in between the two on the East Coast.
All right, so to tell the viewers a little bit quickly who you are, it's Pitts, Chef Pitts. You built your own aircraft, you do your air shows.
Yeah.
You've got Air Show 360 earlier on this year. Tell me what's been going on these last few months. Have you done any flying?
No, I haven't. You know, the air show stuff is pretty much canceled for the year. I have one in November. But kind of back to who I am, you know, my name is Clemens Kuhlig, and I built this airplane behind me and for the real purpose of flying it in air shows. So I finished it in 2013. I flew it in 2013, and so I've been flying. This would have been my 6th year. I haven't flown a show yet in 2020, but hope to do that up in Charlotte in November.
Incredible. Pitts Special S1S. You built it in your garage. It took 3 years, right?
Yeah, for sure. I started with a fuselage frame, and the top wing, it was a project with a fuselage frame, and the top wing was kind of started, and it was my aerobatic instructor's. He lives in an air park just west of here. And I looked at that plane for years, standing up in the corner of the fuselage, you know, the truss up there, and finally bought it. So I ended up buying it from him, the fuselage frame and the top wing that I built originally for him. I did it in exchange to stay in his hangar for a summer, and he had a Pitts. That's how I learned how to fly one. And so that's how I ended up with it.
And you actually are a chef. That's where the name comes from.
I was at the time. When I was building it, I was working as a chef, and so it was kind of it's almost a little private joke just for me. I don't know if you're familiar with Steve Wolf. He's a big Pitts guru guy. He built a lot of them. He was an air show pilot, famous to me anyway, you know. And so he built Sean Tucker's Pitts, you know, those real highly modified S2Ss, and did crazy stuff with the ailerons, and built the GB and built Samson and all these crazy air show airplanes. And so he'd call his Pitts the Wolf Pitts. So I was like, you know what, he can call them the Wolf Pitts, and I can call mine the Chef Pitts. So that's why I did that. Yeah, it's just a little joke for myself.
Have you done any aircraft construction before? Have you helped anybody else, or did you go straight?
Yeah, I helped out on a few airplanes. There's a jet taxiing by, so we might have to wait for him to go by.
Nice.
Yeah, I had my hand in a few projects, sure. And I had gone to A&P school years ago when I was about 20 or so. So I had basic skills, you know, and just out of school, I couldn't get a job. So I went back into kitchens, you know, because I had worked in kitchens as a kid. So, you know, and then 20 years later, I'm still a chef, you know, so it's just how the things work out, you know. Yeah. So like skill-wise, I had the basic knowledge, you know, of how to properly build an airplane. But really what it comes all from is model airplanes as a kid, you know, you know, doing the fabric around the corners and getting that all smooth and everything. That's all from building model airplanes. You know, that's where those skills come from. And in fact, it's a lot harder on a model airplane than it is on this because it's so much bigger. Yeah.
It looks like your camera's mobile. Give me a walk around the plane. Let's have a close look at it. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah. So like we said, this is an S1S. Let's go around the front here, and you can see the cowling's not on it.
Yeah.
Go around this side, the light's better. There we go. So,
That's shiny. That's shiny, Chef.
Yeah, it's a brand new engine, brand new prop on there. I'm just getting ready to run it for the first time since I put it on there. And so an S1S, what does that mean? It means it's a single place Pitts, and that means it has symmetrical airfoils. So if you look, you can see that wing is perfectly symmetrical.
Yeah.
And also an interesting little thing, you can see that there are 2 different airfoils on that wing. The bottom wing is thinner,
yes,
more narrow, right? The top wing's fatter, but they're both very symmetrical. And actually that bottom airfoil right there is a common airfoil used on helicopter rotor blades, believe it or not. Yeah. So that's an interesting little thing that probably a lot of people don't know. The Pitts wing is a helicopter airfoil.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that. My only other experience with pits is jumping out of them. We've
Oh, right. Hanging out of the front seat, right out of the T-handle. Yeah. I've never seen that, but yeah. So just keeping going on here. It's better on this side for sure. So it's 200 horsepower. It weighs about it weighs 850 pounds. So with me in it and, you know, parachute and air show fuel and stuff, it's, I guess, close to 1,100, 1,000 something, whatever it is. Yeah.
The sound is beautiful. It
is. Yeah. It's got you know, just real straight open headers there, 4-into-1 exhaust and cold air induction and all those little tricks, you know. So it's 200 horsepower. So I'll go cruising somewhere. It goes about 150 miles an hour, right? So I can get somewhere. I can get about 1,000 miles in a day. Right. And then like just wide open level, it's about 180 miles an hour. Yeah. So it goes along pretty good.
Tell me a bit about a normal season. Where would you be? All over the States, or are you certain areas, or how's your?
I'm kind of a up and down the East Coast guy. I'm in Florida, and like I did a show in Atlantic City in New Jersey, and that was 1,000 miles, almost right exactly. So 1,000 miles is about as far as I can get in a day. That's really my limit, you know, and that's good weather and all. That's 9 to 5. So I'll leave in other words, 8 hours. Yeah. So if I leave at the crack of dawn at 7, I'll get there by 4-ish, 3, 4, stopping for fuel. Actually 3 times on the way up. And on the way back, I got lucky and I only stopped twice. So just all depends on the weather. Yeah. So I'm up and down the East Coast. You know, there's a couple I do, like Culpeper, Virginia. The one that I'm still slated to do is near Charlotte Monroe. So, you know, those are comfortable flights. Those are only a couple legs, you know, 700 miles-ish, something like that. So, yeah, that's a good day. Yeah.
What altitude would you normally like to cruise?
I go pretty low. I'm scared of heights. So I go, you know, 2,500 feet, 3,000, something like that. Yeah. I'm not, it's only burning 8.5 gallons an hour anyway. So I could get the fuel burn down a little bit and maybe get my airspeed up a little or whatever. If I got some wind helping me, I'll go up higher. I'll take advantage of it for sure. You know, but it is what it is. Yeah.
The first time you flew it was at the Sun and Fun in Florida?
The first time I flew it was in 2013. It was in February, and my DAR, my designated representative that came and looked out the plane and gave me the airworthiness, you know, because it's experimental amateur built. They used to do it in stages, but now they just come out at the end when it's all done. And he gives you a test area to stay in for the first 40 hours in the States. You know, it's with an experimental airplane, most of the time you have 40 hours to fly off within, say, 50 miles or something, whatever they give you. And he just gave me enough that I could get to Lakeland and fly into Sun and Fun. So I flew over there with about 17 hours on it, and got my little, let's see, is it still on there? I hope so. Yeah, can you see that?
Yes.
Best home-built biplane at Sun and Fun. Yeah. I went and I camped out in home-built camping, you know, and I was for sure the only biplane there, and because most of them were RVs. You know, it's a sea of RVs in one biplane. So I think part of me getting the award was they felt bad that I did all this work and and I'm the only biplane there. So, but nevertheless, it was a nice achievement for sure.
Absolutely. The air shows, did that start gradually or did it come quickly?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Getting into being part of the air shows and being regular.
Yeah, I went out there, like I said, with just a few hours on the plane, and I didn't really have a plan. I had no idea how to even do it, how to start. And so you just kind of start Googling and trying to figure it out. And I ended up finding an ACE, an aerobatic competency evaluator, which is like what Patty Wagstaff is. And
yeah.
And I mean, lots of experienced airshow pilots are ACEs. They're qualified to evaluate us, everybody, and everybody evaluates each other.
Right.
So everybody has to be evaluated from Sean Tucker on down. So anyway, I found one up in north of here, a couple hours north of here, and did that first evaluation, and here I am, 6 years later. You just keep plugging away, and gradually getting lower and lower.
Yeah. Now, your air show, you've said before that it's inspired by some of the first people you watched, the Red Devils, for instance. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's easy to see, right? The kid that saw the Red Devils, he's got a little red biplane, just like theirs. Yeah, I remember seeing them do a formation snap roll when they were the Red Devils, before they were the Christian Eagles, of course. And that was a huge inspiration. That was up in Rhode Island. I grew up in the Northeast, and and seeing all those legendary guys, Art Scholl and Jimmy Franklin, and Jim Parker was a fixture up there up north. He was a Pitts guy too. He had a dealership and stuff, and I ended up going for a ride with him when I was 10. And so that was really the moment when I actually got in the airplane and, sat there through a hammerhead and was just blown away, So that's all that. It's pretty common to have, you went to an air show and got inspired. But to follow through on that, it took me a long time. But, I got there.
You must get this on the other end of that now when you meet kids and you see their eyes light up. That must be a great, great feeling.
Yeah, it's cool. You do. I make it a point to sign a lot of cards. I go down the whole show line when I'm done, and try and get as many of I have little postcards and to try and get as many out there as I can. And every once in a while I get some feedback directly to me, like through an email or something, how it was so cool to see me there flying, and that they enjoyed that I spent time, saying hi to the fans and stuff. And so, that's my main objective is to, besides the having fun part, is to, to show people, it's weird in this society the way it is now. Look at us, we're talking on a computer screen, to get somebody out into the environment and immersed in it, so where they can smell it and see it and hear it and all that stuff. The visceral response, that's what gets people, that's what gets their brain going,
Like it. Yeah, it is absolutely unique. I mean, coming from that as well, you've just done your Airshow 360 project. That was in April, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was interesting. That was an interesting thing. I was kind of sick of sitting around, and nobody was doing anything, it seemed like. Formula One was starting to pick up a little bit and trying different things to keep people engaged, like on Instagram and stuff. I was like, where's the air show stuff? So that's why I kind of had the idea, people are the fans, the air show groupies and fans and photographers and all the people that really enjoy air shows, we're all missing out too. So that's why I started that. And I didn't know how. I just knew that I wanted to do it. So I put a date down and posted it. And then Lunar was kind enough to jump on and help me with it. And she had some expert help too, to put it together and put it into more of a production than I could have done myself. I would have ended up putting something on there, but it wouldn't have looked that good. And it was fun. It ended up being a lot more work than you thought it was going to be, right? Which is true with anything.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a learning experience, learning about copywriting and music and all these other things that are part of trying to get a production out there. Yeah. It was interesting. Yeah. And a lot of fun too. Yeah. I think people had fun with it.
Absolutely. Do you think it will lead to anything more like that? Have you any more plans or anything?
Well, I think they are. You know, Sun and Fun kind of jumped in when they finally had to cancel, and then I think Oshkosh is doing something too. They're like really putting something together. I think I haven't really checked it out, but they're going to do, you know, they're going to have vendors showing their wares and all these different aspects that are part of Oshkosh, and so, you know, and people ask me too, when are you going to do another one? You need to do one every 2 weeks or whatever, right?
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, nah, I wanted to be the first, and everybody's going to do it better than me, you know, better than I ever could. So let them, you know, they can do all that, you know, and improve on it and make it more. And also in the back of my mind, I don't want to be too good at it, you know, because then people are going to stay home.
Yeah.
And we won't, and hopefully we start flying soon here again. And, you know, we want people out at the show. You know, we want to be out at the show. You know, all that stuff's well and good to get us through, but, you know, let's go fly.
Yeah. In the sunshine, hearing the noise. Tell me about your shows, Chef. Tell me about your actual display. How did you get it together, and has it changed much?
Yes and no. Like I said, my inspiration was guys like Jimmy Franklin and Art Scholl and those kind of airplanes. The airplanes that they fly now are so high powered and so high performance, like the Edge sitting behind you. You know, those are monster airplanes, and performance is just crazy. Well, in those days, it wasn't that crazy. You know, I remember when Jim Parker first flew a Pitts S2S, when that first came out, just a factory S2S, and they called it the helicopter Pitts back then. You know, imagine what they'd call Skip Stewart's, you know, now, you know what I mean? So that was my inspiration, was watching those guys. So I fly a lot like that. I'm not a super extreme, you know, I'm not, you know, multiple snap rolls and like that. I like kind of piecing stuff together that is smooth and in curving lines and kind of goes in and out of the audience. Almost as much negative as positive. That's another kind of thing. You know, a lot of people do negative stuff in displays, but, you know, I do a full outside loop, and there's once, like in the opener, I do 6 of 8 up and then push out the bottom, which, you know, a lot of folks push up from the bottom, but don't push out from the top kind of thing. So those are little things that are a little different. And again, I'm only pushing 4 negative. I'm not pushing 10, you know, like the unlimited guys. So I'm only pulling 6 and pushing 4. Just a nice, you know, flowy inside outside. You know, the Pitts does inside and outside so well. It looks so good upside down. It looks neat upside down. And you know, it's just conducive to rolling and turning and looping all the time, you know, instead of just straight lines and blah, 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 you know, that kind of thing. It's just a different style. That's all. Yeah.
What's one of your standout memories, one of your best memories from shows that springs to mind?
Best memories? Yeah, there's a lot, right? The first one I flew, the first full show I flew was pretty cool. That was in Charlotte, Monroe, the one I hope to fly later this year. That'll be 6 years that I've flown that show, if we get to do it. So that moment, I remember, you know, and that first one, I'm at 800 feet. You know, it's pretty high. There's not really much that's going to happen, I don't think. But it's intense. You're in the show. You know, all these things are going. And I remember getting down and of course that's a big thing with the Pitts, is getting it back on the ground too, right? And I turn off the runway at the end, and I just was like, you know, that I got through that first performance, that first full performance, and it was just a big relief, you know, release, not a relief really, but just a release of all that. What is it going to be like? You don't know until you actually do it, right? But you know, meeting all these airshow pilots and these people that do this, you know, in that same show, you know, I'm in the morning briefing, the pilot's briefing, and you look around and you see all these great airshow pilots, and you're like, wow, you know, this is pretty serious, you know, I better do well, I better fly well, you know. So you know, and well, I could keep going, you know. I think one of the coolest things is just being able to show up at an airport, and the airport, the whole thing is yours for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Really good point. Yeah.
You know, like going to, I always bring up Manassas in DC, you know, just outside DC in Virginia, and it's in that crazy airspace that's around there, you know, so that's a whole thing to navigate all that, you know. And then once you're in there, you know, they have to manage airliners flying into Dulles and stuff, and then you're squawking a transponder code when you're flying, and you actually have to talk to flight service and file a flight plan for your performance.
Right.
You know, all these little things. And then you go out there and tear ass around in a very busy airport, almost in Washington, D.C. You know, it's pretty neat, you know. It's an interesting experience for sure.
So right now, over the next couple of weeks, how is your day? Tell me about your day schedule. I would imagine you're doing a lot of work with the aircraft itself.
Yeah, I have been. Yeah, and I still got some more stuff to do. But you can see in this big hangar behind me, there's some Learjets back there and stuff. That's my real job. I work on those, you know, kind of 9 to 5 during the week, and I'll work on my plane on the weekends usually. But yeah, I got the engine's all ready to go, and then I got to do some other little things, you know, just kind of maintenance things. And I haven't really flown in 6 months now, you know. So I was under no real pressure to get engine done right away or any of these things, you know. So motivation's kind of hard sometimes, you know. But once I get it out there and fired up, I think it'll be good. And then of course I got to practice now for November.
Right.
You know, I got to be ready. Yeah. You know, 1 show or 10, you got to be ready. You know, so so that'll all kick in once I get it going.
Where will you do your practice? There on that airfield, or will you go somewhere?
No, I have a spot out here. I go just kind of during lunch. I go a lot of times. We're at lunchtime right now, and then there's an airback box up north of here that I'll go, and where Patty is in St. Augustine, I'll go there and practice too. Yeah, and that's an hour and a half away or whatever. I'll go up there and fly a couple times and then come home. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing you back in the November. You say your next opportunity, you think?
What? I'm sorry, say that again?
November is going to be your show?
Weekend of November 8th, I believe it is. Yeah, Veterans Day weekend. Yeah, so I just got an email from them saying they're going to do it, so I hope so. Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
Chef Pitts, thanks very much for joining us. It's been great to have you here on What's News. Really good chat. Great to see the aircraft too.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll get it airborne and get some footage and get back out there on social media and whatever, you know, start getting people fired up again, I think. Yeah. I hope.
We look forward to it. Thanks very much, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you.